These games were supposed to take place last year, but COVID, dare we say, from the country where it originated, also played kind of spoil sport. But it's back on track. We are here. The Asian Games is just 1 week away. And well, whatever people say about 20 medals, 50 medals, 100 medals, we don't know how much India will end up winning. We know that at least it'll be 2 weeks of great sport and there are fascinating storylines for us to follow. Welcome to Express Sports Podcast. You're listening to Game Time with me, Mihir, Vasavda. Across the table with me is Amit, Kamath as always, and joining us today is Shivani Naik. It's just so much to unpack, but since Shivani is in the house today, let's just start with the speciality, badminton. Shivani, of course, we'll be talking about so many things. Badminton, hockey, we'll be touching about Neeraj versus Arshad Nadeem. But kitna kuch ho raha hai badminton mein, from Sindhu's spiral down to the rise of Chirag Satwik and Pranoy. What's the thing that you're most excited about this Asian Games?
So I wish I could say that, it was Sindhu aiming for that gold that she missed out on last time. But considering her form, it looks a little difficult. Though it is something that this will be her last chance to go for the Asian Games gold. Satwik and Chirag have been in great form, but the competition at the Asian Games in men's doubles is something else. And it is going to be a difficult medal for them to win of any color. I think after Indonesian Open, we were thinking of them ruling at the Worlds as well as at the Asian Games, but that was a good reality check. I think finally, the men's singles medal is something that is extremely coveted. India hasn't won it since 1982 when Syed Modi did. That was a bronze. And with Pranoy in the form of his lifetime, I think that is one medal that can make him stand out from the rest of the men's singles field. There is also Srikanth. A lot of questions being asked about whether he should be in the individual event. The trials were held a few months back, but he has a point to prove there.
It's going to be tough, right? Anyway, it's Asian Games is tough, but this being in China, especially if you look at the women's side, Chen Yufei, she'll be playing at her hometown. Not exactly her hometown, but at a place where her journey began in Hangzhou, where her story started. And the women's side has always been packed. It's brimming with talent. But so is the men's badminton scene, right now for singles?
And just to reiterate, I think what Shivani said that so understatedly is that no men's badminton player from India has won a medal of any color since 1982.
82 years.
Yeah, for a nation of so many ambitions as India has in badminton, that's a massive... we've pretty much done a lot since then. We won the Thomas Cup, which nobody taught us capable of doing. We've won World Championship medals. We've had successes over multiple events, but then men's single is something that we need to keep an eye out on.
Is there a reason why though? Why 41 years if anyone kind of ends that spell?
I'm not sure about ending that spell, but the thing is, we have been doing well in men's singles only the last few years, even on the professional circuit. Yeah. So I think with Lakshya Sen and with Srikanth since 2016, but it's come after the whole women's resurgence with Sindhu and Saina. But they are in good form, all of them right now. This is the peak for Pranoy. This is the absolute end line and the last chance for Srikanth as well. So we can expect them to give it their all.
Amit, moving on from badminton, Neeraj Chopra is fresh from a World Championship gold, and it'll be remiss of us to not kind of mention him right at the beginning, because not just, he's a defending Asian Games gold medalist. He is a favorite to kind of go on and get it again. Again, like if he competes, we don't know yet. Of course, he's said that he will be traveling to Hangzhou, but things change. Him versus Arshad Nadeem of Pakistan will be a very good storyline to follow there. And also the other Indian in the fray as well, Kishore Jaina. So plenty of stuff there too when it comes to track and loads of medals in track and field. But Neeraj, of course, will be headlining that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think every competition that Neeraj goes to, be it the Olympics, it's all going to be about Neeraj. Fairly or unfairly. But yeah, this whole thing is also going to be centered around whether Neeraj can complete that 90-meter target. He's also spoken about this. I think at his recent press conference, he was not even asked about 90, but he came to that conclusion by himself. He brought it up himself because he kind of, I guess, second guess that journalists were about to ask him that.
उसके दिमाग में भी है ये.
Yeah. And he kind of brought it up himself. He dredged it up, said that I know everybody's going to ask me about the 90 and I'm very keen to get that. But I don't know. It just feels like one of those hallowed marks that has no real significance for him when it comes to winning medals, right? Because he's gone to the Asian Games, won a gold medal. He's gone to the Commonwealth Games, won a gold medal. He's gone to the Olympics, won a gold medal, World Championship silver, World Championship gold, without ever needing to breach.
I don't know, but I just feel that, since everyone around him has thrown above 90, and on a good day, if someone is better than him, to have that thing in his mind that if needed, he can produce a 90 plus throw, I think it's a big confidence booster.
I believe the one time he won a silver at the World Championships, it was because somebody else came out of nowhere and threw a 90, right? And obviously, Arshad Nadeem at the Commonwealth Games, which Neeraj missed because of a injury, that is where Arshad threw a 90 meter. So clearly, this is going to be one of those events where everybody will look at not just Neeraj winning a medal. That I think we don't want to jinx it, but it kind of feels like a foregone conclusion of some sorts because I mean, it's the Asian Games where maybe the competition is not as tough as what he's going to even encounter at the Diamond League finals. So that is going to be something that he will probably medal, but then will he get to that 90 meter mark, which is something that everybody wants to talk about.
Shivani?
We should not forget that Arshad Nadeem also had a silver at the World Championships, so he is in good form. He is kind of snapping at Chopra's heels.
And also, he's so effortless. I mean, you would have seen him in CWG. I mean, I think we've discussed it in an earlier podcast. The amount of effort that we see Neeraj put in a throw and compare it to Arshad, I think it's just vast difference over there.
So the scope for improvement for Arshad is far more vast than it is for Neeraj, who has been kind of following the process.
And in fact, recently when I spoke to Andreas Hoffmann, he's one of those Germany 90-meter golden generation javelin throwers. He also mentioned this. He mentioned that, when I look at Arshad, it just looks like he's just picking up and throwing trash, into a bin. I mean, he's just basketballing it over the line and it just seems so effortless, like you mentioned, and he's still throwing 90. So if he actually gets in that amount of effort that Neeraj puts in or some of the others like Vetter put in, God knows how long he's going to throw that javelin.
Yeah. Shivani, track and field is something that India ends up winning a lot of medal at the Asian Games. But this time, I mean, Neeraj, of course, is a thing. Jyoti Iraj is something we should be following as well.
Absolutely. I think breath of fresh air. The 100-meter hurdles is something that is an extremely exciting event. So to watch an Indian actually do well in that will be very interesting. The relay team, the 4x400 team, fresh from the Worlds, that'll be another thing to watch out for. There are a few gold medals that are easy to get, but it is still about, going out there and performing at that stage because there is pressure on athletics on track and field to deliver those medals from the Asian Games, given that we are favorites there.
But then tell us, give us a peek into covering something like an Asian Games, where there are multiple gold medals that India is winning on one day. And it'll, of course, happen. I'm sure it happened with you in Jakarta. Amit, you did it in CWG as well. You were Shivani covering it. How do you kind of prioritize, say, whether to go and cover an athletics gold medal event compared to a wrestling or boxing or something else? What's the decision-making process there?
No, track and field always will be the priority because it is the big stage games. It is the big event, the marquee event of any multidisciplinary games. Also, India doing well at the Asian Games is the gold medals. They come in thick and fast in track and field. But to actually be there at the stadium and watch them go for those medals is always it's an absolute sight. So it will always be track and field over any of the other.
That's a tough question. Amit, you'd written for your Tokyo Olympics coverage about the chance factor. That you just weigh where is the better possibility. The slightest chance, if it's like even a fraction percentage higher, then you pick that. यहाँ पर तो यार भर-भर के medals मिलते हैं compared to Olympics.
Absolutely. I think what I wrote about in Tokyo was that when you get up in the morning or the previous day before you go to sleep, you decide that, you have an indicator that a Mirabai Chanu is going to win a silver, but not more than a silver. And you know that a Saurav Chaudhary might win a gold, and both of them are happening in two different corners of the city. So you hedge your bets. You decide that, I'm going to go for Mirabai because I want to see her the first Indian medal at Tokyo. Or you decide that, this kid might just win a gold, which he seems to be in the form of his life, so he might just do that. I think for all journalists, you have to be reconciled to the fact that you are going to get some of your predictions wrong. You are not a born soothsayer. You are definitely going to get some of those wrong. And there's nothing you can do. I think at the Asian Games, that goes up much higher because you have to be reconciled to the fact that you cannot be at every medal winning event. And there are going to be, like, at the last Asian Games, we had 69 medals. I don't think any journalist could have been at those 69 spots where all the medals were being won.
Shivani, do you remember how many medals you were there at?
Not very many. You have to choose. You have to really take a punt on.
Absolutely. I mean, and come on, nobody expects, even your editors by now know this. Like,
you're lying if you're saying कि मैं सब medal event में था.
Oh, no chance. Then you would have to be some sort of a Clark Kent, Superman thing, in the background.
But mentioning gold medals, there were a couple of gold medals that India missed from Jakarta. Two big ones that come to my mind were Kabaddi and hockey. Kabaddi, Shivani, is India going to get it back? Do you think they can? With the league and all the hype and 5 years between back then and now?
See, some would say that the league actually helped Iranians get an insight into how the Indians play. But India is smarting from that loss at Jakarta. It is a medal that I think a bit of complacency got into them in 2018. They will be slightly more aware of their opponents this time. But that doesn't mean that that is a given medal as it used to be in the early editions of Asian Games. Iran is still strong. So that will be like the Neeraj and Arshad Nadeem contest. That is going to be India-Iran medal, the one which will be fiercely contested.
And there's also the cultural aspect to it, right? I think both countries claim Kabaddi to be their own sport. And I mean, this is the battle for the soul of Kabaddi, if you will, or the bragging rights for Kabaddi.
If you needed context to watch Kabaddi, there's hype machine that Amit Kamath is.
Yeah, I hope you did not say height machine, because when people meet me, I don't want them to get misled.
We should convert this to a video podcast and see where the height machine goes. But Kabaddi and the other sport that we mentioned was hockey, and it'll be, I don't know what level of disaster if India don't win a gold medal this time again. The only thing that I think missing from 2018 to this edition was the psychological help that the team needed. I think this time, this is the men's team we are talking about. They have fixed that bit. Paddy Upton is with the team. His contract is specifically till the Asian Games. And from all accounts so far, seems like he's been helping players and it's been working out as they expected. But India and hockey, you never know.
They'll need more than psychological help, like maybe astrological.
Hockey's supporters need psychological help as well sometimes.
No, but I think there's also the pressure of the Olympic qualification, which sort of builds up as the games go on. And that could be one of the reasons why they lost to a team like Japan.
Malaysia. In Jakarta.
Yeah, in Jakarta, which they ordinarily wouldn't. So I think that is one of the issues where the psychologist or the mental trainer will come in handy.
Or the astrologist.
Again. But astrology, of course, will play an important role in the football team's progression, as we know now.
Not anymore, Mihir, thanks to you, because you made sure that nobody is going to be consulting astrologists anymore.
We shall not digress. But Shivani, the thing that you mentioned about pressure, Harmanpreet Singh, the captain, actually has mentioned it multiple times that India do have a tendency of taking it lightly when they're competing against teams from Asia. And that's because deep down they know that on paper, India are a better team. And to fix that bit is where Paddy Upton will step in, which is interesting because at least there is awareness of where the problem lies. But no, the women's team too, I think for them, I think this will be a bigger test because they have been on an upward curve. It started around the Asian Games 5 years ago. Of course, the World Cup before the Asian Games in 2018 is where it began. Asian Games, they medaled. Then the Olympics, they peaked. CWG last year, they were again very good. Asian Games, women's hockey is one of the most competitive sports. It's crazy because most of the women's team in Asia, they're not like up there in the world. But between rank, I think 7 to 13, 5 of them are from Asia, and which is like a proper mid-table fight, and in continental it will be supremacy. These are some of the traditional sports, of course, that we'll be spoken about, we'll be looking at, and there's a lot. I mean, we've not spoken about shooting, archery. Archers are doing pretty well, especially in compound where they are expected to win some medals there. Weightlifting, of course, Mirabai again will be up against the Chinese and the Thais, of course. But this Asian Games also marks a few really interesting moments. Amit, starting with chess, you'll have Ding Liren, of course, who will be leading the Chinese side. Indian team is packed with talent too. How do we look at chess at this?
I think for these guys, it's going to be that ding versus the Indian prodigies, right? Because for the Indian team, I think one of the most interesting thing is what Vidit Gujrati recently said at the Tata India Steel chess tournament. He mentioned that, a couple of years back, I used to be the youngest person in the Indian team. Today, I'm the second oldest. So that's how fast the progression has happened. And now that it has happened, we have a battery of 2,700 prodigies who are all capable of. So there is Ding, who is, I think, in the top 5 in the world at the moment. Then there are all 3 of the Indians. Then world number 23 and world number 24 are the Chinese again. So there is that bit of a dichotomy where the top ranked is the Chinese, the world champion Ding Liren. But with Ding Liren also, we have seen that he's not competed at all. Right after he's become the world champion, he had to go to one of these tournaments where he was contractually obligated to. So he dragged his feet along, grudging and screaming. I don't think Ding is capable of doing all of that or throwing a straw, but then he still ended up playing there. But after that, it's been a very rare thing to see him play. He's not played at the FIDE World Cup. He's not been seen a whole lot. So it's going to be really interesting about how he manages to hold his own once again against these Indian kids. And I think the bigger challenge will be the women's competitions, because China has a massive history of women's chess players. They have, I think, a litany of women's world champions from China that could easily mirror the Soviet Union's record in the open era, the open competition. So, I mean, that is, I think, where your Koneru Humpis, your Harika Dronavalis will have slightly bigger challenge. The men's team, I feel, I mean, I could be wrong, but then the men's team, I think, will have a decent enough chance against the Chinese. Whoever I've asked, be it Anand, be it Prag, be it Srinath, who's the captain of the team, they've all mentioned that, China is not the only one. The men's team will also have to look out for Vietnam. There is Uzbekistan. There is Iran. Even though Ali Raza has quit and he's joined a European team now, but they still have a decent enough team. So there is obviously Iran. There is obviously Uzbekistan in the women's side. There is obviously Vietnam, who will pose problems for the men's and the women's teams.
Right, and the other interesting sport that's making its full debut at the Asian Games, Shivani, is esports. And you saw it debuting as a demonstration sport 5 years ago. What was it like, and how significant will this moment be when esports becomes a medal sport eventually in Hangzhou?
It's just the nature of the arena for esports, which is so different from the usual sports fields. There will be those massive screens which zoom into facial reactions of players. Obviously, the South Koreans and the Chinese teams, which are extremely popular, and Hangzhou is like a base for esports. So I think just the entire environment of esports and how it plays out will probably be bigger than even track and field at these Asian Games.
From an overall point of view.
Yeah, from the audience and the entire glamour and glitz around the sport.
They also have a very fabulous arena. It looks like a spaceship. It's dominating.
Correct.
Like the whole infrastructure, the architectural side of it. So it's going to be a very fabulous venue to, at least when those stadium shots appear, I think it's going to stand out over there. Inside, we still, like Shivani has given a glimpse, at least it will be one of those very different looking venues.
And absolutely, they are known as the geeky gladiators.
Yeah.
So the entire atmosphere is going to be like a coliseum, but you have these people on their consoles, and it's just a very different vibe.
No, I think we've covered as much as we could in this half an hour episode, but before we kind of conclude, 2 points. This is like a preliminary examination before the Olympics. So what is one thing that you'd be looking forward to from an Indian performance point of view?
I think if you look at the guys who won medals at Jakarta 2018, a lot of them are not there in the current team. Like I was just looking at the squad. You look at Manjeet Singh, you look at Arpinder, all of these guys are gold medalists. You look at Duti Chand, all of these guys. Even in shooting, you have way too many of these shooters who are not in the team anymore. Be it Hina Sidhu, you have Abhishek Verma, all of these guys who had won medals, they're not there anymore. So what I'm very interested to track is who takes up those, who brings back those medals now that these guys are not around. Because those guys are going to be our crux for the Olympics. Obviously, you don't have to think about twice before betting on a Neeraj Chopra or a Mirabai Chanu. But besides that, who is our second in line for those guys who are not at the Asian Games level anymore? So that is something that I'm very keen to look at. And I mean, obviously the Asian Games is going to be a barometer. We are not even, I think, 1 year out from the Olympics.
Yeah, 9 months.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is the Olympics before the Olympics.
Shivani?
Yeah, the turnaround time, from the Asian Games to the Olympics is reduced this time. So that definitely will have an impact. But it also will be a good marker of where India stands after the Tokyo 7 medals, across the breadth of sports. So whether we can actually match up to, even at the Asian Games in terms of scale, whether we can match up to those medals in those particular disciplines from Tokyo and continue it leading into Paris.
I think that's a very important point because we had done an episode earlier where we just realized that the Tokyo 7 aren't really at that same level as they were 3 years ago. And if India have to continue medaling in those sports, then new faces might have to emerge. Very interested to see how Bajrang performs because this will be his first competition in, I think, since CWG last year. Yeah, he hasn't competed all of this year. I'm trying to think if he did compete towards the end of 22. I don't think he did. So yeah, it's a lot to look forward to. India is sending almost 650 athletes or so, participating in almost 38, 39 different sports. Last time, like Amit mentioned, there were 69, 70 medals. If you watch the TV commercials, they'll be saying 100 medals is the hope. Parting shot, you guys, predictions? Because we spoke about astrology, what's the stargazing this time?
I don't do that.
Come on, ek number, yaar.
I think 60.
Wow. 10 medals less, he's saying, which will be terrible, Shivani.
I think we'll struggle to match 69.
So you're also saying 60, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm going all out and saying 80 with around 20,
That's
25.
only because you're going there and you are kind of hoping that these guys win 80 medals so that you have a problem of plenty.
No, but I think boxing and wrestling are the most enigmatic of...
When you say enigmatic and not say shooting, literally you never know what they are seeing from their sights on any given day, right? I mean...
Yeah, shooting, I think we outperformed at Jakarta, right?
Yeah.
It was almost like a decade ago.
True. Yeah. No, but shooting is enigmatic. It will remain enigmatic going into Paris. But I think boxing and wrestling will be good markers for...
And we'll see which of us is kind of close to accurate, and whoever wins this competition gives others some treat. And all you listeners are, of course, invited wherever it plays. I mean, Amit will be there to take care of the bill anyway. So we'll be, of course, taking care of the Asian Games, the coverage on the website, on the paper, on the podcast, everywhere. It starts next Saturday, goes on for 2 weeks. It'll be overlapping with the World Cup a few days. But yeah, we shall figure that out along the way. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. We'll be back with a fresh one next weekend.
You were listening to Express Sports by the Indian Express. This week's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by me, Shashank Bhargava. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it, share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.